All right, guys, we are going to work on finishing worksheet 1 as examples. Okay, so on the back of worksheet 1, we're going to do these problems that's the learning target. This is going to be a separate section on a quiz, okay? The learning targets are solving multi-step equations, including ones with fractions all over the place. Now, fractions is one of those F words in math, you know, fractions, factor, all that stuff we don't like. What I want you to do here, please do this the way I'm asking, okay, is I want you to multiply through by the least common denominator. Do not switch these to decimals or anything crazy like that. All right, this one's pretty easy. 4, 8, 5, and 40. Least common denominator would be 40 because these other numbers all go into 40. We good? So we're going to multiply everything on both sides through by a 40. I'm going to be lazy and write it like that, but we got to remember it's going through the whole darn problem. So on the calculator, and I can even pull mine up here, maybe if I get it to work. So 40 times 9 divided by 4. You can type it like that on your calculator. 40 times 9 divided by 4. It should be 90. Did somebody get that to work? And that one had an X. I always lose my X's, so be real careful. Okay, then the next one is, let me get that off there. 40 times, was it 3/8, guys? Okay, so 40 times 3 divided by 8, and that is 15. Okay, this is going to be a problem. Go away. What is happening here? If I just click back to here, it should be okay. Now I forgot what it was already. It was 15, right? That one didn't have an X. 40 times 2 divided by 5, I believe, is 16. Somebody do that and check me. And then 40 times negative 179 divided by 40 should just be negative 179. Okay. Now what? We just combine our like terms here. So negative 15 plus 16 is 1. So I have 90x plus 1. They're on the same side, so we can just combine them. So then we'll subtract this 1 over to the other side. And we get 90x equals negative 180. So this one comes out nice. Negative, but nice, right? Negative 2. Did someone else get that? Okay. Anybody stuck? Some of them come out ugly improper fractions, and you just need to make sure they're reduced, okay? Now, this number 17, I'm going to skip because it is totally atrocious numbers, okay? But I just want to tell you that you would need to distribute before you multiply through by the least common denominators. And I think, like, is 18 or 19 that same way? That has to distribute first? 19 is? Okay, so I'm going to do 19 instead of this one because the numbers here are just ginormous. Okay. I promise, on the quiz, they're not miserable numbers. The homework, I'm not promising anything, but the quiz, they're not awful. Okay, so number 18, I suppose in theory we could subtract the 12 sevenths over to the 14 sevenths because they already have a common denominator, but I would just multiply through. What's the common denominator? 2 and 7 would be 14. Okay, be real careful that you do it to everything, including this little x in here, okay? So 14 times 3 divided by 2. You want to know the Hofbauer method here? Divide first in your head. So 14 divided by 2 is 7, and then multiply by 3 is 21x. This is just a math team hint, okay? Doesn't matter if you multiply or divide first. So this 14 divided by 7 is 2, times 12 is 24. Does someone type it in though? 14 times 12 divided by 7 came up 24, right? Okay. Then 14 times the negative x would be negative 14x. And over here, 14 times 47 divided by 7. Well, if I divide 14 by 7, it's 2 times 47 is 94. Did someone type that? Double check me. Okay. Nothing worse than making a mistake as a math teacher, especially when I'm recording the lesson. All right, So let me know if I do mess up. So it doesn't matter which way we move any of these numbers. I was thinking I was going to add the 14x over here to the left side, just so that they're positive. I think that's 35x. And I'll go ahead and show it in a separate step. Later in this class, I'll probably get lazy and do the minus 24 at the same time. But since it's the first week, I don't want anybody to be like, where did you get that? Whoops. 35x equals 70. Does this one come out nice too? If we divide, and I will eventually get lazy about showing some of my steps because we're in pre-calc, but I know it's been a while for some of you since you did a lot of this. Everybody feeling okay? Can handle this? These are my favorite. Even when I use Teach Algebra 1, these kind of equations, it feels so powerful, doesn't it? When you look at what you started with and you take your calculator and you do the least common denominator, and you're like, oh, it's easy now, right? The kids would always feel good about themselves because it started off looking awful and it didn't turn out to be so bad. All right, this kind are a little bit messy because you do need to distribute first. By the way, can we combine these first? Remember, if it said this, could we do 3 minus 2 first? Remember the whole, you got to get rid of multiply or parentheses before you can, it's order of operations thing. There's multiplication here. You have to do multiplication before you can add or subtract. So be real careful that you don't do anything that breaks those golden rules of algebra. So we're not going to mess with anything here. We're just going to multiply these together. This is 2 over 1. So remember when you do fractions, like if you had 4/7 times 1/3, you would just get 4 over 21. That's just an example that you go straight across. Everybody good? So here I'm going to leave negative 11/4 plus, and then I'm doing 31 times 2 is 62. And on the denominator, I have 8 times 1 is 8. Now, that does reduce, but it'll take care of itself in a minute. What did I almost forget, though? That one had an X. Good call. Then I'm doing 31 times 2 over here, which would, whoops, it's minus half power. 31 times 2 is 62. In the denominator, I have 8 times 4 is 24. Everybody okay? We got rid of the parentheses. Equals 7/4 x minus 82 over 3. All right. Is that coming from next door? The feedback, isn't everybody? Okay. This is, reduces, this reduces, but I don't think it really matters. Let me erase this over here because it's confusing me. Because the common denominator is what? 24. Let's go with 24. So we're going to multiply everything. This is really how you're supposed to write that. Because you're saying I'm multiplying a 24 on both sides. But I'm lazy, so however you want to write it, long as you know what you're doing. I just put them all in one big parenthesis. Okay, 24 times negative 11 divided by 4. Negative 66. Anybody checking me? That's good? Okay. I think I might need help on this one. 24 times 62 divided by 8. 186. And that one has an X. Everybody should be able to do this one because what's going to happen? The 24 here and here are going to cancel, right? So even if you type 24 times 62 divided by 24, you should just get 62. All right, and then 24 times 7 divided by 4. Don't be afraid to grab your calculator and type these in. 42 maybe? And that one has an X. And then 24 times 82 divided by 3. Oh, that's 8 times 82. 656, thank you. That would have taken me a while. Is everybody okay with how you would do that? Again, it was 82 thirds. And then we were multiplying through by 24. 656. Yes. Yes. All right, so now I think I'm going to simplify this side. We got some things that are on the same side we combine. Negative 128. Everybody okay there? Combining like terms, and then we have a 186x equals 42x minus 656. When you get to this point right here, everybody can kind of do their own thing in terms of the order they do it in, right? You could move your x's to the same side first. Just be sure that you combine like terms at some point here. All right, I will subtract 42x. Hmm. 144 if I subtracted right. Subtraction is usually what gets me. (144x) equals, okay, someone help me out. Negative what? Okay. I was getting there very slowly. All right, let me fix how that looks. That looks really bad. Can I move this down? There, that looks a little easier to read. Okay. Now we got to divide. And I don't know if that comes out nice. Don't tell me, because I'm going to use the calculator here. Negative 528 divided by 144. No, I'm not going to use the calculator correctly. There we go. All right. And I would like you to just leave it an improper fraction. Please do not give me a decimal. I want an exact answer. So does everybody know the trick? Math, enter, enter. To change it back to a fraction, and we get a negative 11/3. Everybody find those buttons okay? If you turn your calculator on and it says slow batteries, let me know, because I only replaced part of them before school started. So we got negative 11/3, and there's likely on the quiz to be some that need to stay improper fractions, okay? All right. So actually you're going to practice this tonight on Delta Math, I think. How many people don't have a Chromebook yet? Yay! Anybody still can't log in? Hopefully by the end of the day. Okay, then student services, I think they can replace it if you need a different one. Yeah, if we finish early, I will let you go, no problem. Otherwise, at lunch, they can probably help you. Yeah. All right, now we're going to go on to the next page. So what is this worksheet? Just worksheet 2, guys? Okay, thanks. All right, so at the top here, it just talks about a linear equation is any equation that can be written in either this form or this form. For example, x equals 6 would be this form. It would be 1x plus 0y equals 6, okay? The bottom line is it's a linear equation as long as it doesn't have multiplication between x and y, or square root, or an exponent, or an absolute value. Everybody good? These would all be lines if we graphed them. These would not. All right. Slope. Oh, this should go really fast. Tell me what you learned yesterday. Anything about slope. Really? Yes. Okay. We use this to be slope of a line, and I'm okay with kind of putting that there, but that's really within a linear equation. What else did we learn about slope? Yes, you could write it like this on the quiz if you wanted, but what did that little symbol mean? Subtract. Okay, so you could write it like that. One of those definitions, that when it asks for the definition of slope, or the formula for slope, as we call it. And if we were writing definitions, I would be remiss if I didn't just write down the usual rise over run, or that's actually change up and down, which is vertically. You can put it out there, that's fine. Over the change horizontally, and you don't have to write all these down, guys. I'm just trying to make sure we have all the bases covered. What happened? Are you out of here? No? Yay! Oh, for a different class? Okay. We're on worksheet 2 in the packet, okay? And the finished notes will be posted in the Google Classroom if you need to go back and figure out what you missed. And watch the beginning of the video, see what you missed. Okay. Common forms of a linear equation. You do need to know all 3 of these for the quiz. I think we're good on this one, right? Slope-intercept. Okay, we've talked about that a couple times. M is slope, B is y-intercept. Okay, not x. And we know that's slope. Okay, I'll try to write it in here, I guess. Okay. Point slope form. This is actually a really important one that you need for calculus. Does anybody feel like they've used this before, this point slope form? I know we used to teach it in geometry a lot. Okay, this is when you have given a point and a slope to create a line. This is how you really should start. Okay, now I'm going to go over 2 ways to do these because I know some of you did not learn this way and it's not the way Delta Math does it, but this form is important for calculus. So this is what I will usually use when we're given a point and a slope. And there is one on the quiz that asks you to leave it in this form. Okay, we'll do an example in just a minute. Standard form is the icky-picky form, I call it. It looks pretty, but that's kind of the only goodness that comes out of it. It is easy to find the x and y intercepts by putting in a 0 for the x and a 0 for the y. I showed you that yesterday on one question. 2 things that are important on this form. You need it in this order, the x, the y, and the constant on the other side. The a has to be greater than or equal to 0. What does that mean, guys? It can't be what? Negative. So if I came up with this equation, how could I fix that so that the a was not negative? Yeah, multiply or divide everything by a -1 or just change all the signs, which is what's going to happen when you do that. Okay? Anything else can be negative, but the a has to be positive. Some silly mathematician somewhere decided. The other thing is that a, b, and c must be integers. What does that mean? Yeah, can't have this garbage. But we just learned how to get rid of those, right? We could multiply through by a 12 here, and we'd end up with, I don't know, 8x minus 15. Oh, that's not in the right form. Anyway, oh, it's supposed to have a y in there. That's why. I'm just making up things as I go here. Equals 24, okay? You don't have to write that example down if you don't want. But those are just, you can't have fractions and you can't have a negative x, okay? Crazy icky form has limited use. All right, let's start with this one. Your favorite. Gain some confidence as we go here, right? How do I graph this? There's not even, we don't even care. We're going to start down here at -5. It would go up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1. So I'm going to draw something in here. Okay, tell me the slope. Anybody? 2 or 2 over 1 if you want to write it that way. I don't care. Which other thing do we already know? The y-intercept was, how do we write that as an ordered pair? Yeah, we went across 0 and down 5. Be careful. I don't know about you, but I write ordered pairs backwards all the time and it's infuriating. Okay, x-intercept. The x-intercept, and you might want to write this down so that you always, always, always remember this, but the x-intercept is when, and it works for anything, is when y equals 0. And the y-intercept is when x equals 0. So it doesn't matter if we're solving a polynomial 6 months from now, If I ask you for the x-intercept, it's when y equals 0. If I ask you for the y-intercept, it's when x equals 0, okay? All right, so to find the x-intercept here, we are going to put in a y equals 0 and solve. Does that feel okay? Can do that? Add 5. Divide by 2. We get 5/2 or 2.5. So the 0 was the y, and this was 5/2 or 2.5. I'll write it as 2.5 up here. It doesn't matter. Does that seem okay? Can handle that method, yes? Can handle graphing those. Everybody good? Anybody need more time? Okay. This is a point slope form, and very, very rarely would I ever ask you to graph something that was given in this form. This is the form y minus y1 equals mx minus x1. So what's the slope? Can anybody pull that equation, that out of the equation for me? Yeah. This is the slope, 1/2. But if I asked you to graph this line, what would most of you do? Like distribute it and switch it to the other form? So let's just do that and make our life easier. This is not a useful form for graphing. I'll explain what it is useful for in a minute. If I distribute this, I would have 1/2 x plus half of 2 is just 1. And then I want the y by itself, so I'd add 1 over to this side and get 1/2 x plus 2. So it would start up here at 2 somewhere and go up 1 over 2, up 1 over 2. And I just don't even care what this picture looks like because I'm just trying to, but it started at 2. Everybody okay? Did I do anything crazy? All right. What about the intercept? We know one of them. What's this one? That's 0, 2 for the y-intercept. And how do we find the x-intercept again? Put in y equals 0. So I'm just going to go with this one down at the end. If I subtract 2 over here, I have negative 2 equals 1/2 x. How do I get rid of a 1/2, guys? Well, I could do what we just talked about today, right? Multiply through by 2, the least common denominator. Or we can call it the reciprocal, multiply by the reciprocal. It doesn't matter which you call it. If I multiply through by a 2 here, that's a curly 2, sorry. I'll have negative 4 equals x. So does it make sense that if I went down 1, back 2, down 1, back 2, that I would cross that negative 4 over there? All right, we have a lot to go yet today. Let's see how this goes. Everybody okay with me going on? Everybody may go back? Okay. This is standard form. And it is actually nice for finding these bottom two, the x and y intercept. So let's do those first. X-intercept means we put in a y equals 0. So we would have 2x minus 3 times 0 equals 12. Well, 3 times 0 is 0, so that's gone. So what do we need to do to finish that? Divide by 2, and we get x equals 6. I just crossed that out. That's not a giant X. Everybody okay? This is really a struggle with this color thing. Oh, it's over here. I gotta push this one. All right, the other option would be for this one, we put in an x equals 0. So then we'd have 2 times 0 minus 3y equals 12. What do I need to divide by there? That's gone. So I just divide by negative 3. And I get negative 4. So across 0 and down 4. over 6 and up 0. Now, if I have those 2 points, yes, I can graph it, but could I also calculate the slope, maybe? Whoa, that is the worst line I have drawn in 2 days. Okay, there's my attempted line. It went up 4 and over 6, didn't it? Up 4 and right 6 would make a slope of 2/3. Now, could we have done this, and I'll go fast. You don't have to write it down if you don't want, but could we have subtracted the 2x over to this side and then divided everything by -3 and gotten the form we like better? Let's see, a negative divided by a negative would have been a positive 2/3, and back here we were -4. Boop, boop, right? 2/3 -4, we still would have had to find the x-intercept. All right, everybody feeling okay? Nobody wants to cry yet, because there's no crying in pre-calc. All right. Am I on the next page, or is this still on the front side? I can't remember. All right, we're going to go quick over this. Vertical lines run up and down. They are in the format of x equals a constant. Can I just write x equals a number, or are you going to think that's a hashtag? Didn't used to have that problem, but we're going to go with that means x equals some number. Horizontal, oh, and they also have undefined slope. Horizontal lines run this way. They will be y equals some constant number, and they have 0 slope. All right, this is a trick question. Who can get this? It's easy, but it's a little tricky to think about. If I plot this point over 2 down 4, how do I write an equation of the horizontal line that goes through that spot? Horizontal, so this one. Jada? Yeah, it's got to be a y equals because it's horizontal. And it would cross this y-axis down at -4 to go through that point. So it is y equals -4. Okay, since Jada figured out that one, anybody think they can do the vertical line? Vertical would go this way. Mary, what you got? Yes. Makes sense, guys? This one would cross the x at 2. It's got to go through this point. All of the the vertical line that goes through this would have to have an x of 2 and a y of -4 for the horizontal. Okay. Little horizontal vertical review. Now, the rest of my however many minutes, 11 minutes, it looks like that clock is wrong. We're going to talk about parallel and perpendicular lines and slopes, okay? So if 2 lines are what, their slopes are equal. So if I tell you to go up 1 over 2 and another line goes up 1 over 2, it's going to end up looking like this, and those are called parallel. So if 2 lines are parallel, their slopes are equal. If 2 lines are perpendicular, who remembers from geometry? If I had, let me see. If I had one line that was going, we'll say up 1 and over 2, how do I make the one that's perpendicular to that? Page, right? Yes, they are opposite signs and reciprocals. Did I spell that right? I know we had a teacher named Miss Soper. I don't know if anybody had Miss Soper. You guys aren't probably old enough. She's been gone a couple years now, but she called them this, and I loved this. Reciprocals, okay? Right? You're flipping it over. That's all. Reciprocal means you're flipping over. So see if this works. So if I go down 2 and over 1 instead, does that make them be perpendicular here? That look like a right angle on my bad sketch? Okay. So a slope of 1/2 would become -2 over 1 if they were perpendicular, okay? Let's just practice that by going through these. You're always flipping it over and changing the sign, right? To make them perpendicular. This next question says, given this line, a line, and everybody's good that that symbol means perpendicular, would have a slope of, so this slope was 1/4, the perpendicular would be 4 over 1 and change the sign, so it would be -4. Everybody good? Well, this is a symbol for parallel. Line would have a slope of, well, it started at 1/4. If it's parallel, you know, if you're going up 1 and over 4, the other one has to also be going up 1 over 4 so that you get parallel lines. So it would be 1/4 still. All right. I will tell you right now that a question very much like this is on the quiz. Okay. Which best describes the relationship between EF and GH? So we're going to find the slope. And I know I'm going kind of quick here through this question, but we did this yesterday. So we have x, y, x, y. So we do change in y, 6 minus 3, over change in x, -4 minus -9, would give me 3 over 5, I think. Did anybody else get 3/5 for that one? Okay, so that was this one. 6 minus 3 is positive. -4 minus -9 became positive. Thank you for checking, because I always mess those up. But I got positive. Did anybody else? Okay. Now we're going to do GH, the slope here. So y's go on the top, -1, I'll start in that order, -1 minus -6 over 11 minus 8. This becomes a +5, and this becomes a +3. So, parallel, perpendicular, or neither? Why neither? They're both positive. If I were graphing these, okay, if I started at the origin and I went up 3 and over 5, or I went up 5 and over 3, are those two lines right there that I drew perpendicular? No. This is neither. And they are not equal or opposite reciprocals. I'm just going to squeeze that in if it wanted an explanation. On the quiz, I think it does ask why, okay? And you would write parallel because their slopes are equal, or you'd write perpendicular because their slopes are opposite reciprocals, or you'd write neither because they're neither one of those, okay? Questions on that business? All right, so we're going to practice writing equations of lines the rest of our time. I know you're ready to crash. I'm actually going to skip this one. I think is the one I was going to skip. Did I write a note? Oh, I wrote 9 I was going to skip. All right, well, let's do a little bit of this one then. If we run out of time, we'll just do them tomorrow. Okay. This one gives us 2 points. Okay, 2 points here. So we're going to start with what? Anybody know? Gave us a hint. We're going to find the slope, okay? Did I skip? I did skip 7, didn't I? Okay. Sorry. I'm going to do 7. Then we'll do 8. See, that's how we count. Okay. Number 7. This gives us a slope and a point. Any idea where we might start then? Okay. We're going to start with point slope form. This is the one you're not very comfortable with. So the general form looks like this. Y minus y1 equals mx minus x1. You are putting in one of those points. We only have one. Kidding. The next one we have to pick one. This one we have 1 point. This is going to be our x1 and this is going to be our y1. So I'm going to have y minus, the y value up here is -4, so that's going to become +4, equals, slope is m, 1/3, x minus, the x value back here was 3. And I'm going to change this to a plus +4. And I'm done. That's point slope form. Did I mess everybody up? Anybody need to know where those numbers came from? Okay, slope intercept form. Well, let's distribute real fast. Does everybody get where I got that? I distributed here. See, I should have switched colors or something because this is the answer in point slope. This is my work for getting this one. I distributed, and now I'm going to subtract 4. So I have 1/3 x minus 5. I want the y by itself, so I subtract 4 from both sides. -1 minus 4 is -5. Everybody okay? All right, standard form. Blech. We got to get rid of the fractions. We got to move the x over to the other side. I'm going to move the x first. So if I subtract, I should switch colors. If I subtract the 1/3 x over to the other side, I will have -1/3 x plus y equals -5. Okay, two things are wrong. I'm going to try a genius move and get rid of both of them at the same time. I can't have fractions, and I can't have a -x. Anybody know what I could do? Oh, yes, but can we call that something different? Times -3? Could we do that? If we multiply through by the least common denominator, which is the only denominator there is 3, right? Dividing by -1/3 is the same as multiplying by -3 over 1. Go ahead. Oh, maybe. Okay, I probably said the wrong thing. Okay, so this times this will be +1x, or just x. This times this is a -3y, which we're allowed to have a negative there. I could have just written x minus 3y. And then -3 times this is a +15 back here. All right, I know I only have 1 minute, and I really didn't get through what I wanted to today. I'm going to go fast. If you don't have time to write it down, you can go back and look at the notes if you need to, but you would find the slope here first. This reduces by 3 to 5/2. And then you would pick one of those points. I'm going to pick the 2, 9 one. And you would start with, okay, the homework tonight is in Delta Math. If you can't get that figured out, let me know and we'll look at it tomorrow. I'm really sorry I wasn't more organized at the beginning. Everybody okay? I promise we'll get this figured out. Try some of the Delta Math tonight. We'll see how far we get.